I'm here right now with the Blue Jackets' new president of hockey operations and general manager, Don Waddell. And Don, first of all, welcome to Columbus. I mean, as a member of the Blue Jackets, you've been here many, many times before. How excited are you to start this new role?
Oh, it's exciting. You know, as I've said, when you look at other opportunities, and when I made the decision to leave, you know, this was first and foremost. You know, not only because of the roster, what the potential players coming in the system, how the ownership treats everybody here, first class. I've been in this building lots of time. I hate the damn cannon. Now I love the damn cannon. So I want to hear that cannon go off a lot. So, you know, it's a very exciting fan base that has supported the team. So we got to continue that and make them proud of the Blue Jackets.
You were a general manager with the Atlanta Thrashers. You scouted for the Pittsburgh Penguins. You were the president and GM for the Carolina Hurricanes. As you come into this job right now, what is your message? What is your direction that you want to take this franchise in?
Well, you know, we all talk about culture, and culture just doesn't happen. You got to build it through your leadership team. But the other thing is, I got to make sure we're all on the same page. I've never been in an organization where one individual succeeds if the whole organization doesn't. If we succeed as an organization, succeed on the ice and off the ice as a team, that's how everybody's going to get rewarded. So we've got to make sure we're all working in the same direction, same page. You know, check your ego at the door. Let's go get it done. And we'll figure out which people, and hopefully most of them all want to be part of that and continue going forward.
One of the big questions is obviously the coaching staff, because the general manager works in, they coordinate with the coaching staff and work hand in hand together all year long. Do you have a relationship with Pascal Vincent? Do you know him very much, or do you need to get to know him and figure out how it's all going to work?
Yeah, I've talked to him for 3 minutes so far. I've watched his teams play, all that. I don't know him. I want to spend time with him, find out as a person what kind of person he is, and then we'll talk about hockey. You know, it's a two-step process because I just don't know the person, and I want to get to know him. And then we can talk about hockey, what he thinks about certain situations, you know, systems, all that. And you know, that's why I said I know time. Everybody's got time against us, but you know, we know the draft's going to happen in June. We know free agency is going to happen in July. Other than that, everything else will work throughout in time. So not putting a timetable on it at all.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to ask you, what your priorities are as you step in and hit the ground running right away. Is it that draft that is coming up in just a couple of weeks?
Yeah, the good thing is, I mean, it's almost 4 weeks away. So we got the combines next week, and I'll meet with our senior leaders of our scouting team here to talk it through. So we got some time. I like to, you know, we get down to the last group, spend time watching video and you know, talking to people. So we got time for that. More importantly, at the same time, is the free agency, because they're right on the heels of each other. We got to be ready before we go to the draft, because there's going to be a lot of players being shopped at the draft, a lot of players that will become free agents on July 1st. So we got to make sure the next 3-4 weeks, draft, free agency, #1 priorities.
Here you have some restricted free agents that you have to figure out what you're going to do with, whether to sign or just whatever in general. What's the process like with a restricted guy as opposed to an unrestricted?
Yeah, well, you know, again, I'll sit down with JD and Josh and that, and go through what's the history with the agent and then talk about the players. You know, we know with the restricted, some have arb rights, some don't have arb rights. The ones that obviously have arb rights, we got to get a pretty good feeling of where we see that player in our minds, and then talk to the agent and see what he thinks. And you know, obviously, hopefully you're going to be able to reach a deal. Arb's not fun for anybody. But at least we know when a player's an RFA, one way or another, through ARB or negotiations, they're going to remain a Blue Jacket if we want them to.
And of course, with all the experience you have, these guys you're talking to, you've talked to many times.
Yeah, I've done more deals over my years than I can even think about. But and ARB, you know, the guys, no, they don't want to go to ARB either. And, you know, sometimes you go to ARB for ridiculous short amount of money, and you know, by the time you get through there and waste everybody's time and that, you usually, especially with most of the agents, you can find a deal that works for both people.
You know a lot of this Blue Jackets roster just from your time in Carolina with the Hurricanes, but have you taken the time to really go over it and start to break it down and get your opinions or your thoughts, I guess, more so than opinions, get your thoughts so that you can meet with other people and form those opinions?
Yeah, I have lots of thoughts, probably not willing to share any yet because I don't want to poison anybody else's mind. I want to hear fresh what people think. I don't want people to think what I think unless that's what they think. You know, if they know my opinion ahead of time, chances are they may want to jump on how I'm thinking. I want honesty. You know, and your opinion might be completely opposite of mine. I might be completely wrong. You might be completely right. So just because you disagree with me or your opinion is different, doesn't mean good or bad for either one of us. It's just, but I want your opinion. I don't want fence sitters. I hate fence sitters because I've worked with a lot of people who are fence sitters. I want to know what your thoughts are on player X, Y, and Z.
When you come into this situation and you look at the pool of players that you have, how excited are you about the talent that is here? Whether you wind up using that talent on the ice or whether you use it in a trade to get some other kind of a piece that you need, just what you have to work with, how much does that excite you?
Well, that's one of the reasons I took this opportunity because, like I said, if I didn't think there was any hope, I wouldn't have taken it. You know, I could have chose other place or stayed in Carolina, but this opportunity is exciting because of what you just said, the pieces that are already here. And we just got to continue to build off of that and make the players, the younger players that are here, make them better. Obviously, injuries is a big factor last year. We got to work on that. You know, why was that? Was there a situation that happened more than it should have happened? So those are all things that I'm excited about because a lot of those things are fixable very easily. I look at the goals against. Goals against was one of the worst in the East, and you know, and you tighten that up. And you get a few saves here and there, and you can knock 40 goals off your goals against pretty easy. But you have to have everybody playing in the same system. So those are all things that I've looked at hard. I've looked at the roster hard. I've looked at as much as I could in the last 3 days because it's been a short time, and look forward to continuing on with that process.
Since you brought up goals against, I'm not going to pin it on any one person, but the goaltending situation here has been talked about over the course of the last year. You know, you have several guys there. You know, how much have you looked at that? Is that an area of focus for you early on?
No, it has to be. Yeah, I think, you know, you got, you know, Alvis, obviously. I tell the story. I tried to trade for him 4 years ago, and I couldn't get him out of here, you know, and then we all know what happened with him with his personal life and that. So I think as an organization, and it starts with me, we have to spend as much time and resources on this player to try to get him back where he is. If we do that and it doesn't work, okay, we got to turn the page. But I can't leave here right now knowing that we're having for 3 more years, knowing where he was 4 years ago, and say we didn't do everything we could have done to make this work. That would be a fault by me.
Would Patrick Laine kind of go into that same conversation in a different way because he's in the NHL program right now, but a guy that's got tremendous talent, has had great years in the past, and you'd like to get that back out of him?
Yeah, I mean, his situation is unique, and I'm anxious to talk to him at some point, find out where he's at, see how he's doing. You know, first thing, forget about hockey for a minute. We got to find out personally, you know, how his life's going for him. Because I always say, you know, you're going to play hockey for a few years, but you're going to live a long life. So once we do that, you know, find out his feelings and see how he feels about where his game is and if he can help the Blue Jackets win more games because he's a talented player.
The Cleveland Monsters are about to start the Eastern Conference Final in the American Hockey League. You've been there before where your American League team has won championships. How valuable is that playoff experience to getting young players ready to play in the NHL?
The more games you play in a playoff, because it's hard hockey, I don't care what level it is, it's going to help you. We had Marty Netchess and Charlotte years ago played 27 playoff games and came out next year and took off in the NHL. So I truly believe that. But the bigger thing I believe too is I like to win at that level because winning breeds winning. You know, once you win a championship, I don't care what level you're playing at, you win a championship, there's nothing for second. And you know, you like to surround yourself. I always say when you look at your roster and you look at your staff, you love to surround yourself with people that have won because there's nothing like it. And missing the playoffs and being satisfied with that just isn't going to cut it, you know. So I'm very proud of the job they've done to get Cleveland to this point, and hopefully over the next little bit I'll get a chance down there to see them.
Last thing I want to ask you, as you're getting ready to talk to your new amateur scouts about the upcoming draft, you've got the 4th overall pick as it stands right now. Are you a best player available guy, or are you a draft by position guy, or does it just depend upon the organization where you are in just maybe what happens on that day.
Yeah. First of all, I think it's one of my better days, that the trade deadline, because I think I can think and react on my feet pretty well. But I can do that because my team has prepared me for that moment. So I think it's hard to say. I always say you got to take the best player, but you may have player A that is a forward and player B that we have ranked, depending on how you rank players right behind them, that you might flip-flop at the table. Just might happen. But so I always say you got to put your list in order of best player, and then sometimes you have to make a decision at the table to bypass the next guy, maybe to get the guy after. But try to put your order together. I'm not sure how they do it yet. I'll find out soon. But I always felt that you have to put your best order together by best player, because it also helps you when teams are calling you and trying to make a trade. I made a lot of trades on draft deadline. If our best player we know is 3 or 4, and or our best player that we want is 4 on our list, but they're going to take number 7, and we're going to trade our pick to them and trade back. There's lots of juggling and a lot of thinking you got to make into the draft.
You sound like you enjoy that.
I love it. Excuse me. I love the draft. I love the trade deadline. Not crazy about July 1, because some of the worst decisions in all of hockey are made on July 1, and I just don't want to be a part of that.
Well, I know you have a lot of things that you're doing here as you just get here on day one. I really appreciate the time. I've seen you in passing for 15 years. I'm very happy that I get to work with you on an everyday basis now. Nothing but the best to you and your family, and I'm sure we'll talk again soon.
Great. Absolutely. Thank you very much for having me.